Good evening and welcome to another community forum. I'm your host Byron Campbell, and of course our co-host is Chris Diali. Good evening, Chris.
Good evening, Byron. Pleasure to be back on the program again for another Wednesday as the year runs fast to end the year. As the time
Are you in a hurry?
quickly.
Are you in a hurry?
No,
or?
I'm not in a hurry. Something else seemed to be in a hurry.
Something. Chris, I want to first of all say that we have an interesting program this evening. We have two special guests. We have two young persons appearing on the program this evening, community advocates, but to talk about the issues facing young people, the challenges, and hopefully some of the advice to us.
Question is whether we go listen.
I hope we are listening tonight. So viewers, stay with us. Very interesting program for you. Chris, I just want to mention briefly that the world's largest floating book fair, Logos Hope, is here. And it's here between the 25th and the 29th. I think usually between 1 p.m. and 5 p.m. Entrance fees $5, but interesting books there, huge selections on development, on education, on sports, entertainment, and religion. So I want to encourage particularly young persons all to attend. I think here you have in one location a wide range of literature that's going to be interesting.
You know, we don't read as we used to.
Yeah.
Not from books.
Yeah.
Everything is digital. So
Digital.
Let's hope.
So I want to advise
people like me and you that was reading.
That we do that. Chris, traffic still an issue, big issue. The proposed plan for the South in terms of the arrangements didn't work. The bus went on a short strike. The authorities listened. They suspended the operations. That is, we back to normal. Why it didn't work? You think that the consultation was inadequate?
No. I think the project people who were doing this project had adequate consultation.
So what went wrong then?
So probably moving them through, Granans Valley and the road by Hubbards, Defu and so on, and going up that steep hill probably what caused the concern.
So they didn't anticipate that, but clearly it appeared that the bus owners, operators weren't consulted on this.
Well, it's strange that they weren't consulted because I know a lot of consultation took place.
Yeah. But anyway, back to square one. I don't know, but clearly we need to resolve this.
Well, I think the project is going relatively on track in terms of finishing at a certain time.
Yeah.
And there is an inconvenience that we all know that we have to put up with for a time T. The time T is a short time. Okay. By early next year, first quarter next year, most of the roads will be back to proper usage.
Fingers crossed.
Yeah.
Chris, there's an issue here with government buildings, particularly office buildings. Only last week, I think it was the Public Workers Union, the president, the union was complaining, in fact, about the accommodation, the quality of it. It's inadequate, dangerous, according to them. In fact, the Boots and their division has since they walked out and they've since been relocated. But there's a bigger issue, however, facing government offices and properties. A lot of rental. The ministries of finance and other ministries are renting. Huge expense for the government. What's the solution here?
Well, before I answer that one, I just want to say I want to commend the police on the traffic situation. They have started putting no entry and no parking in certain critical areas in Granans Valley and other parts of the country, I think Molineux Road and so on, which is a good thing, and we hope they continue to get vehicles off the road and parking and so on. Going back to the sick buildings, yes, government have had a lot of sick buildings. They have the financial complex, they have the ministerial complex, and it's affecting staff. Now, that is...
And cost of renting.
Yeah, well, before I go there, I mean, first off, we don't do no maintenance in this country. You have these two buildings and you do very little maintenance. And if you don't maintain something, what do you think is going to happen? Right? Particularly ACs and so on. They're hard use areas, a lot of staff, a lot of people coming. Yeah. So it is expected things will deteriorate and deteriorate to a point where government have to find new places, cost them a lot of money in rental and so on. But I want to also raise this point about, indirectly about the issue with, there is a property called Sandino Plant where housing is located, and NIS owns that, and NIS is looking for $17 million. They put it up for sale. I think government should move in and take that particular property, give NIS some money towards it, because I don't think they paid $17 million.
Government had owned it originally before it was sold to NIS.
Yeah. And it's about 3 acres. They should put a new financial complex down there. a 3-story steel building and suit it up and get it going before somebody else buys it. And that will save them serious money in rent.
So
and
that's,
remember,
that's a recommendation you're making?
Yeah, but there are two.
Yeah.
The one on the lane where ICA used to be,
Yes.
that under
Next
the
to Blue
previous,
Dime,
when
there.
NEC was
Yeah.
in government,
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
a project where all the plans
Yeah.
was approved
Yeah.
and breaking
Yeah.
ground and all kind of thing, and it just went to nothing. So, I mean, as a government, whether it's this one or the next one, we have these projects that we just, I don't know what it is wrong with us, something wrong with us. And we could not pay all this rent if we maintain our buildings and use the proper land to do proper buildings.
Chris, I mean, let's move a little bit to the politics now. The movement is in was in North America, I think Canada and New York. Again, launching or in the diaspora. But I think the big political news, of course, the NDC rally on the weekend in Telescope Pasture. A couple of observations here, Chris. One, that it was the official opening, the official lighting of the pasture, of the park, if you want to call it, which is a government project financed by the government of Grenada, financed by the people of Grenada. But the point I want to make here is it was launched on the NDC in a rally. I don't think that's appropriate. I think I want to question that. You know, what message, what signal it gives us? The question is, how appropriate, how ethical was it for it to be for an official public national project to be officiated during a party rally?
Well, you may have some concerns in terms of the ethics and the properness of it, because you're marrying politics with what you normally call a government project. But, you know, in small countries like ours, is a line that is easily blurred. Yeah. And politics gets in the way because the ruling party, which is political, remember, political parties are not part of our constitution and are not recognized by the constitution. Yeah. So when you mix government business with the politics, it tends to raise some sort of concern. And I suppose that is what it is. But we have done it in the past and we continue to do it.
It is wrong, Chris. It is wrong. I'm calling it out. Chris, the other thing I observe, another observation, while Minister Andy Williams was speaking, I observed that the Prime Minister was absent from the stage. He was, in fact, on the grounds having chats with with persons there. How appropriate was that, you think?
Well, that to me is probably the biggest thing that would have occurred in the rally, that will send some kind of confusing signals to the public. You don't normally have your leader of the party go down in the crowd talking whilst one of his ministers are on the pulpit talking. I mean, it shows a certain level of disrespect in my view, because the minister who is presenting, nobody will listen to him if the Prime Minister down in the crowd meeting people and so on. It gets muddled in that sort of thing. So it sends a message that, you know, probably Mr. Williams and the Prime Minister have some kind of issue, because when you do that, I mean, you take away from him and what he's trying to present. So I'm not sure how that benefits them.
But Chris, I heard some good announcement. I heard about the airport solar farm being announced at the rally. I think that's an excellent initiative. It's a big deal. That was a good thing.
It is. Yeah. I mean, that has been announced before. I mean, now they're just probably giving people that the project is ongoing. It's a big thing. I mean, the more we get PV panels in place and could augment the electrical grid, that's a good thing. It costs us less than, you know.
And still on the politics, our PM is out of state. I think he's in North Africa today, Morocco specifically. I'm not sure the specific, some meetings of the other. You heard about it? Do you know about it?
No, I mean, the Prime Minister continues with his travels, and, you know, there's arguments for and against.
Okay. So. We'll leave this there, Chris, right? People who talk about that seems to get into trouble, Chris.
Yeah. I don't know what that is.
Chris, I was looking on YouTube. One of the YouTubers, that's how you call them. A couple of tourists that came to Grenada and they were going through the city, you know, showing the beautiful, you know, it looks very beautiful. But one thing came out. They were advising tourists, their colleagues, the pedestrians, to be careful in the city while walking because of the unevenness, the holes on the sidewalk. didn't look very good, Chris. In fact, it was dangerous, they said. So something we should be looking at, attending to.
Yeah,
Carnage also.
the government needs to, pay attention to these things. Although in Grenada, I've never heard somebody suing the government for falling down in a hole, down in the road and so on. So in other countries, that happens.
Yeah.
But we have issues. I mean, the carnage is one, where we have boats still tendering on the carnage. The wall on the carnage separating the physical from the water is in a terrible state that needs to be repaired.
Yeah.
And if you take that into consideration, we have some money to spend. Now, couple that with the fact that we have the building I just spoke about, moving the financial complex down to Grand Anse.
Yes.
And moving them out, that would give government a building that they could now transform and make it a tourist kind of building, have tourists, have yachts pull up on the carnage. We need to transform the carnage. And that is a project, again, that we had. We did some work and it just seemed to fall on the wayside. Instead of that, we're talking about all kind of other stuff, nonsense.
Chris, it looked bad, as I said, because this is a YouTube international and these were visitors here. Blogger,
there's a lot of countries that have the same problem.
I know, but we should attend to ours because we are boasting of.
You know, here they're talking about Trinidad.
We are boasting of pure Grenada, but it's dangerous for persons. That's the point. Chris, we have to touch on the militarization of the Southern Caribbean, the Venezuela, the U.S. military actions, pending military actions. Just an update here. We had the Joint Chief of Staff. The chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, some General Dan Kane, highest military ranking officer in the U.S. visiting Trinidad this week, in the context that the U.S. now boasts of some 30% of all the military warships are now around us in the region. So clearly, it seems imminent.
We had a speech last night, I think it was Sir Archibald Ned Memorial speech, given by Sir Ronald Saunders.
Yes.
And he alluded to the fact of what is going on in Trinidad and Trinidad's take on this, as well as CARICOM's take.
Yeah.
And, his offering in that lecture was that we cannot get caught up in this thing about the big and the mighty will do us what they want. We have to remember that we have laws, international laws, international criminal courts. We have United Nations. You may argue of their effectiveness, but we have to hold these countries that think that they have all the might in the world to law, and if necessary, take them to law, just as what happened in Gaza with Israel, and it took them to the international court, and they thought it was genocide. I mean, we have to consider these things. We are a zone of peace, supposedly, and we have protected that, and now they're looking to use their whatever, whatever they want to do with Venezuela as an excuse to come into our region, and the effect for us is tourism, fishing, and a lot of things that will affect us.
But Chris, more specifically, he talked about CARICOM incoherent from within. CARICOM, he says, cannot speak with one voice now, because look at Trinidad, look at Jamaica, so we are incoherent. But I think what he says and what I gathered here was when he talked about sovereignty, it's a right, but it requires capacity to be effective, and that capacity will, if we have the CARICOM collective capacity, then it is likely to be of effect. But right now we're too fragmented, so we're losing that battle.
Eric Williams was the one that said 1 from 10, it leaves 0.
0. Yeah.
When we are trying to form the West Indian Federation.
Yes.
And it looks as though Ms. Prasad Bissessa is following suit in that sense. So we can't have these countries in here in the CARICOM and part of the CARICOM, and we taking sides. We sometimes the collective voice is the important thing here, and we're small, and we have to maintain the collective voice. And I agree with Sir Ronald Saunders that you need to maintain that regardless of your position. And it doesn't seem as though, of course, Trinidad have their economic issues and what they want to do with oil and gas coming out of Venezuela and so on. But they're not guaranteed if regime was to change in Venezuela, they'll get what they want.
It's true. Chris, the other big point he made, because there was a question there where it was talked about the region's vulnerability, particularly with our dependency on the United States. And the point was made we should diversify. The question of Africa came up. And he was saying, look, sure, Africa, if we're going to go there, required 2 fundamental things, transportation and investments. But he was advising that we should look closer, first, among ourselves. intra-regional trade. And he said, for years and years, we can't even deal with the transportation part of it. Why are you going to Africa? Who's going to find that?
That was a great point he made.
Yes.
For years we talk about Guyana as a food basket for the CARICOM region.
Yeah.
And the thing that has stopped it and not get it there is not production out of Guyana, is the fact that we don't have adequate transportation to move the goods out of Venezuela. Sorry, out of Guyana to the CARICOM region, all of us on the island. So we, as a region ourselves, have issues with getting stuff to and from our countries. Grenada can't ship to Dominica as we want, and the cost and so on, because we don't have the kind of shipping. And here we want to talk to go to Africa. So he made an excellent point.
If
we can't do it for ourselves, how we go do it with Africa? And when the Africans come and invest in our plane or ship coming, I mean, we need to be more realistic. I have no problem in looking for other partners as we move through this economic situation that's going on with the U.S. and making and developing partnerships with them. But we have to be careful as to the expectations when we can't handle what we have.
Chris, there's a point that was made by the Kidney Association. You know, what came out, Chris, is that they said we have a rising case of kidney diseases in Grenada. Noticeable among 15 to 35 age, so among the young group. And interesting too, more females than males are now on dialysis. So the big advice here is that, look, for young persons particularly, but everyone says, look, we need to watch the alcohol use, the salt use, and exercise, of course. But cause for concern, they were saying.
Of course. Dialysis is a very expensive situation. And depending on what stage you have to do in dialysis, so you're in stage 4, which is the final stage, it's just a matter of time before you die. Dialysis will just keep you going for a certain amount of time. If our young population is seen and increased, that spells a certain amount of disaster for us as they get older. They wouldn't be able to walk at the speed they have to walk. They may not live past 50, depending on the stage. So it's a concern that we need to look at our diet and our behavior as we move forward.
Chris, finally, we have, of course, COP30, and this is, of course, the annual global meeting that is designed to deal with the whole question of climate change and mitigation, in particular, how we stop at 1.5? 1.5 degrees Celsius rising, that is. Clearly, we are above this now, it seems. But here's the thing, and this meeting was held in Belém, Brazil. And it was the end of it. What I'm picking up, it was a compromise deal. One thing that came out was clearly they agreed to triple climate finance, that is adaptation funding, and for developing nations, of course. And an agreement on a just transition mechanism, but they failed to secure, which is fundamental, an official globally agreed roadmap to phase out fossil fuels, which was the main UN objective. And why this failed is because the fossil fuel nations, the big ones, headed by Saudi Arabia, led the charge to avoid that. In the final draft, they didn't even mention fossil fuels. So many persons thought it was a failure. Many persons thought it was good. I mean, the positive thing is there like to be more money. I mean, pledges are not money. Pledges are intent, yes? But again, was it worth it? Is it worth it?
I have mixed feelings about these COPs, because from the time they started, you develop a lot of policy guidelines and so on, but the real brunt of the thing is the money must be put there. For countries like ourselves who get affected by climate change, to use to mitigate against it, and in some cases change our social structure as to how we do what we do. And that is not forthcoming. And even though they put money in the relief funds and so on, getting access to it is another issue. We don't talk about that. Sometimes you have to go through court to get access to these things. Because they basically list all of us, and they put all of us as a corrupt set of people that are just looking to get money and do stupidness. So it is, some of these COPs, you go and you spend these times and negotiate hard over, and then in the end, all you get is a nice document, not even worded with the kind of, and as you say, to pledge is one, to get the money in real. And remember, the large countries who are creating this crisis are not present in the COP.
Exactly. Well, America, they think it's a fake. They think it's a fraud.
And they are burning so much coal. They are harvesting and so on. So fossil fuels continue to rise. The only thing positive about, in my interpretation, is that the general man on the street is moving away from diesel and combustion engines and into EV.
Yeah.
And that transportation is a significant contribution to the fossil situation and temperature rise.
Yeah.
So if we could get that to change over time, as it appears to be changing, we might have another issue with EV developing when we start to see what we're doing there. But at least the fossil fuel, because if we go on past the 1.5 degrees, we don't know what is going to happen.
We're already beyond that. Last year was the hottest year on record.
That's right, and the point is we don't know how nature is going to react to that.
Yeah, but look at the type of hurricanes we're having. I mean, how do you prepare for this? How do you...
You can't prepare.
No.
Look at what just happened in Jamaica.
How do you prepare?
For Melissa.
Chris, finally, I want to tell you that I support the movement.
What is the movement?
4-H movement, Chris. Don't get me wrong, Chris. I'm talking about the 4-H.
That's why I asked you what movement you support.
The 4-H movement, Chris. You know why, Chris? Because, first of all, understand what the 4-H has been doing was sensitizing young people in schools about agriculture, the science, and the interest in it, and that's an amazing thing. But the policy announcement that by 2027 the government wants to see all schools in the country have a 4-H club, a 4-H presence movement, I think this is an excellent thing, and I strongly endorse it. I support this.
Yes, I agree with you. 4-H was there before. It filtered and it stopped because young people are not interested in doing agriculture, so it has been preached to us. When and pick up nutmeg, breaking your back, and tilling the soil with stuff and so on. So if you want to attract the young minds into that, we have to introduce the science into agriculture, as I've always said. Greenhouses, stand up and reap. You don't have to bend down and break your back. Nutmegs is the same thing. We need to find a way to reap nutmegs better than how we do it. We will never get young people, whether it's 4-H or whatever, into the science and to the understanding of how important agriculture is for food security. Food security, unless we change their approach.
We have to do it smart, you know, using
right.
the latest tech and resources that are available.
Right. We have AI now reaping plants through robots and so on in certain countries in the world.
Chris, that's all the time we have. We're coming back, viewers, with the young people. We want to hear youth and the future, so stay with us. We'll be right back.
My name is Adasa Rauji. The name of my school is Sacred Heart Catholic School. Today I learned about how to make chocolates, the fermentation of cocoa, different types of trees on the property.
Underneath the apple is the cashew nut.
My name is Jimo Douglas. I'm from San Angelo Center, and today I learned how chocolate is made.
Make one chocolate bar.
My name is Ada and I attend Benelon Elementary School. Today I learned that white chocolate is not actually chocolate.
It's cane sugar and milk powder.
Songs of Hope and Glory, a diocesan choir festival. Join us as we celebrate this Jubilee year with beautiful songs and uplifting performances on November 30th, 4 p.m. at the Grenada Trade Center. Tickets cost adults $20, children $10. Tickets are available at your local churches and on gotofect.com. Let's come together to celebrate with our choirs and rejoice in the spirit of hope and glory. November 30th, 4 p.m. at the Grenada Trade Center. See you there.
This holiday season, let the Monica Benoit Wonderland of Lights lead the way to Christmas at the Point. Starting November 30th, the Quarantine Point Recreational Park transforms into a glowing wonderland with dazzling light displays that are the true showstoppers of the season. Take a magical tuk-tuk tunnel ride through twinkling arches. Explore Santa's grotto, cozy up with a picnic blanket under the stars, and savor delicious eats from local vendors. Entry is just $5 for walk-ins, $10 per carload, and $20 for premium carload parking. Plus, grab a cozy picnic blanket for only $40 and enjoy the season in style. Special pricing applies for New Year's Eve. Visit our Instagram or Facebook pages at Rotary Club of Grenada Events for more details. It's holiday fun for the entire family every night from 5 p.m. till midnight, and it all supports the charitable work of the Rotary Club of Grenada. Christmas at the Point. When the sun sets, the wonder begins. Mark your calendars. It all begins November 30th.
Feeling hot, sticky, or just need a quick freshen up? Island's Pure Refreshing Wipes are made with 99% pure water, cooling and deliciously moisturizing. They're wet and leave your skin feeling soft and smooth. Stay fresh wherever you go. Made in Grenada for our Caribbean community. What are you waiting for? Get yours now. Available to buy nationwide.
Leader and service began during his secondary school years. He serves in the youth parliament as well, and making his and getting an understanding of what is happening at that level, and how important it is for us to have separation. And he plays an active role in creating positive change. So we will hear from Tariq in a short while, and of course, joining him to his immediate left or right, his right, is, I won't say your age, Shiloh. I will leave that out. Yeah? A young lady, Shiloh Alexander, who is making an impact as a bright, compassionate, and creative young leader. She's a first-year biology student. She plans to pursue neuropsychology as her academic profession down the road. She is a writer. She does poetry, music, and promotes her whole idea is about dealing with the issue of mental health that we suffer in this country, and how the awareness and how we could deal with it, especially among our young people. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you.
So we're going to start with ladies first. So Shiloh, I'm going to put you on the bench first to talk. So tell me about what would have gotten you into this community aspect and what you see as the challenges facing people at your age group and a little older?
Well, I think it started when my peers would come to me telling me about the problems they face. Then I'd start to pay more attention to what's going on with people that aren't in my immediate circle but are in my community. And for example, one intercall night, I was driving home, passing through the town of St. George's, and what I saw was a lot of young people, specifically young men, sitting on the steps of stores looking very hopeless. And that touched me very deeply. It had me thinking about what I can do to contribute to the overall wellness of young people and how I can do my part. And I think that's really what started my curiosity as it comes to helping out with the mental wellness among my peers. And being of service has always been something that of core value of mine that I was raised with. So.
Okay. You know, service is not something that we see from our young, not even young people, even middle-aged people right now, don't, everything is about money. If I help, I must be paid. So, Shiloh, let me bring you in this conversation from a standpoint of the men, because she just mentioned the issue about men more so than women linemen and looking helpless. And from your perspective as a young man, what is it that you think and you have seen that would have influenced you to become such a community activist?
Well, it really emanated from me trying to find myself. You know, I joined Youth Parliament with a goal of trying to find out whether this was really for me. And it was through that journey and through that process of Youth Parliament that I found a passion for service, and I found a passion for speaking up about issues that are relevant to us. That journey has been rewarding. That journey has yielded fruits, and I am in my community serving and with passion and with purpose.
So tell me in particular in your community what particular project you would have started in recent times or you continue to engage to see how we can make a difference to young people.
Okay, so each youth parliamentarian, given that there has been a reform, must go out in the community and do something. At Parliament today, I presented on the initiatives such as contributing to sports, the medals and trophies at St. David's Catholic Secondary School, enhancing the learning environment at two primary schools, that of St. Teresa's RC and St. Dominic's RC, helping to nurture young leaders in my constituency. I have also been active in promoting mental health, and just recently me and Shiloh had a focus discussion in St. David, focused on the topic of mental health and seeing how we can combat this Gordian knot. So there has been work going on in my community, and I don't just speak service, but I act service.
Right. You know, there is a strange thing about listening and hearing. They're quite different. Mm-hmm. And my question here to both of you guys is what it is when you do these focus groups presentation to young people, particularly our men, because our men seem to be in more crisis than our women in terms of leadership and other things. What it is that you will say different to say if Byron and I were to come in at forum and present? What you think you will say different to get across the message? Or how would you present the message different that you could reach them?
We would say that we are all in this struggle together. Regardless of your age, regardless of your gender, we as young people as well as old face the same recurring challenges. And so the message really would be from the core of a human being, that which is relevant and that which is able to connect despite the borders that may.
Shiloh, your take on this?
Along the same lines, really, because in the focus group, what we want to do is pretty much ensure that we're all having one conversation with one another, right? We don't want any separation. So we want to ensure that everybody feels seen and heard. So what we'll do is pretty much along with what Tariq said, just ensure that everyone is heard, that we can all speak to shared experiences, because that is something that did happen in the focus group. We spoke about the various problems that we've been through in terms of accessibility to mental health resources and wellness, and we realized that a lot of the problems were common among every single one of us. So, yeah.
From a perspective of our society and our leaders in our society, do you believe that our leaders have done enough, or we have not interacted enough to understand what faces, the difficulty that faces our young people? Anyway, you guys could answer that.
I think in terms of leadership, there can be more done as it comes to mentorship. Because a lot of our young people, we have ideas and we want to be out there, we want to have our voices heard, but we don't know where to go to. We don't know how to get our opinions out there, which tables to sit at, even though we want to be there, right? So I think in terms of adults and leadership, you can start by going into the communities and speaking with us young people directly, so that we can feel heard, we can feel seen, and teach us how to get into these rooms. You know, sometimes all we really need is someone to open the door that we've been knocking on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Same feelings?
Essentially. So we cannot be advocates without having a space, without being heard. As you said, there's a difference between listening and hearing. We need our leaders to hear us. We need them to give us a voice at the decision-making table. We need youths to be not just talked about, but included at the circles and at the conferences whereby the youth is centric. And so if you talk about youth, and if we talk about youth without youth being involved, then we're basically spinning top in one.
Yeah. But you know, the argument for and against is like this. The ideal thing is the mix, young with the more experience. I don't want to say old, young with the experience. And that mix is where we need to understand how to get it right. Because young people will come all the energy and the exuberance and so on. And sometimes the ideas are not workable and we need to temper them. Do you believe that is something that we need to pursue? Because you can't push one group aside and let the other group take hold.
Well, of course, there must be a balance. And when there's imbalance, then there is chaos. The experienced needs to relay their wisdom to the young people, to ensure that their ideas and their thoughts are relevant and are workable in that setting. And the young persons need to relay their energy and their youthful curiosity to these leaders to get them sort of moving, because as young people, there is a certain impatience within us that we want actions now, we want it to be immediate. And so it's through that characteristic that we're able to push the experienced to get things moving and to get in the direction in which we want to achieve.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, interesting. I want to look at some of the social issues, because what we're hearing is that there are issues of poverty, violent crimes, mental health struggles that you talked about, anxiety, depression, untreated trauma. These are rising among young people. What are you seeing on the ground where you are?
So
what is that reality besides what we're hearing?
So in the community where I live, I see men with passion, but I also see men who are not so passionate. I see persons who are leaders at best, and persons who are followers of the crowd that promotes societal ill. So there's a good and bad wherever you go, and that is not unique to any community. So,
well, what I see is a lot of our young people, we try to find our identity, but it's kind of like an identity crisis, really. We don't always try to understand who we are, and instead we stay where we're comfortable. And it has to do with the fact that a lot of us are afraid of believing in ourselves, right? Whether it's out of judgment. I mean, I know that I've been told, she thinks she's special, she thinks she's better than others, when really I was just following my calling, what was in my heart. So it's a fear of putting ourselves out there, really believing in ourselves, having that confidence because of fear of scrutiny, and then wanting to know how we can really begin to embrace ourselves, right? And to that, I would say, really and always just be authentically yourself.
Yeah.
Because there's only one Shiloh, there's only one Tariq, right? And it's not like people who are successful have something within them that other people magically don't have, like they were born with something different. It's that they embrace who they are. They continue to put themselves out there, right? So that's the advice I'd give to any other young person who is struggling with identity. Just to continue to put yourself out there. Do what you love, you know?
One of the issues, of course, and any of you can answer this, is sexual violence involving youth remains severe and for under-addressed crisis. Well, what do you think fueled this pattern, and what radical interventions you think are required to deal with this?
All right. So it has been purported that men are the ones who are seen as the perpetrators of these crimes.
Yes.
All right. And it really stems down to how we as men and how we as human beings choose to exhaust our frustration, choose to exhaust our trials and any challenges that is brought up in life. And it really stems, especially sexual violence. The perpetrators of those crimes, in my humble view, are those in which, for one, the perpetrators of those crimes, they are needing help. They need support themselves. It all boils down to a mental issue. You have persons who have been sexually violated themselves, and it's because of that trauma that they reoccurred. So you need to fix that broken cycle, and it all starts with repairing the mind and teaching that it's not okay to hit a woman, it's not okay to sexually violate anybody. It starts from you respecting yourself and you respecting others.
So do you think enough has been done to address this issue, though, on a state level? On a societal level?
On a societal level, I believe that there is still a certain fear as it comes to victims of these crimes about speaking out. A lot of the times they're afraid because of what others might think of them. They might believe that, you know, unfortunately, it's the case that sometimes others might say, oh, well, you were asking for it. And that's not right whatsoever. I think as a people, we need to be more compassionate and understanding so that we can allow those who have actually been through serious trauma to speak up about it. And I think that's just where we need to start
off. I want to look at the digital world a bit because this is very, very current. Now, do you believe that social media, let's look at it, do you believe it's connecting young people or it's isolating them? Tell me what's happening in this sphere for young people.
Well, it depends on how you look at it.
Yeah.
Social media, for one, can connect young people because there are groups on social media, there are forums on social media, there are discussions on social media that can be held that can be inviting for young people. And at the same time, social media can be a ill in the sense of it limits you, it locks you to a bedroom, and you on the screen and communicating with a device, and so that can isolate you from the civilization, it can isolate you from your peers, your neighbors, your community, and it really depends on the user and how best they see social media and how best they use social media.
A lot of abuse happens on social media.
Yeah. Of course.
Yeah. Sexual and otherwise.
Bullying, cyber activity, cyber crimes.
So the question is, how do you guys filter?
Yeah.
Personally?
Filter what comes to you in social media on all the various platforms.
Well,
the key is filtering. How do you filter?
Well,
what do you use to filter?
What I know personally is that as much as there are dangers on social media, when as a user you can edit what you see on your page, right? You can train your own algorithm, and that's what I do. So let's talk about Instagram, for example. Instead of engaging with media that might be otherwise harmful or distracting, I tend to follow pages that uplift me. I follow things that get me engaged in the community, inspire me, and really open my mind to things I've never considered in terms of, you know, career-wise and my overall mental processes. I think that it is up to the user to determine what they engage with, and that's honestly what I believe, you know. And you can, as in terms of filtering, you can even block certain pages. You can even report directly to, whether it's TikTok, Facebook, or Instagram, anything else, the kind of content that you do not want to see.
Yeah.
I want to look at the youth economic realities. Here's some data, Chris, some data I picked up that we're hearing that the youth unemployment, and that's between the ages of 15 to 29, is currently about 36.8%, and this is more than triple the average for adults. What structural causes can you explain for this persistent crisis, and why have multiple governments failed to address this particular issue? I can go further to tell you that 88% of youth under 35 do not own land or property. Less than 1 in 10 qualify for a mortgage. This is what is driving this unequal situation, and what are your recommendations on this?
I would say is probably youths are confused. They maybe do not know which direction it is they really want to go, and so that results in stagnation, that results in an inability to make a decision on which path it is you want to follow. In that instance, we would, as a society, would have to get our youths invested in, for example, finding what it is they really want to do. So there can be programs, there can be initiatives that are streamlined to help youths find their passion, because when you look at successful people, what really defines them is their passion and their purpose and their gift. And so each of us have a gift within us, and it is up to us individually and communally to help each other find what it is that we are called to.
Most young people, as a follow-up, if you get employment and you start to work, the first asset they will acquire is a vehicle. Nobody will think about investing in land or investing, according to what Byron said. So,
but Chris, hold up a bit. But can I qualify this? And this is due to the policy of the financial institutions too, that they would likely give you a loan for a car and not land or house, Chris.
Well,
so
the
it's policy also.
Well, the financial institutions will go for the market. They will market the thing because that's what it's selling.
Of course, that's the point.
That's our point. So that's the point I'm making. How do I get young people like yourselves to say, I've just started to work, and the first asset I want to invest in is something that will multiply or create generational wealth as I go forward? We come from a sociological construct where, you know, we think about buying land, and the car will come after. It is reversed with you guys. It is about the intangible thing, the tangible thing of the vehicle now, so I could do what and give me flexibility. And land, as a matter of fact, a lot of young people will tell you, we're not interested in owning a house. That is too much of our money and investment and so on and so forth. We prefer rent. Some of us will rent for the rest of our lives. That psychology, that thinking among you guys, what it is that you think is driving that?
Well, I'd like to add that, well, in terms of what you're saying, educate us. Educate us on the values and benefits of investing in land rather than vehicles first, you know, and just financial literacy in general, you know. And there is the issue of also these different programs, but not enough youth actually being engaged with them. For example, the Empower initiative that was just launched this month for specifically young men. Minister Delma Thomas, she had stated in the sitting of the House of Representatives that over 400 young men first signed up for the program, only for just over 200 to graduate. And it has to do with not just what the government is doing, right, but all stakeholders, home, family, friends. We have to be able to engage our young people, and again, young men, and teach us the value of investing in our future. Because it's easy to cast blame or say that we're not knowledgeable, but we want to be knowledgeable.
No, it's
So
not about the knowledge. I think the impetus now, what you see out there in the environment is different from what we came from.
True.
Right? So that's why I asked you about how you filter. Because a lot comes to you.
Yeah.
We will come to you in a mentorship program. We spoke about mentoring. And we will tell you this is what you think. We think you need to project yourself, what you need to take, how you need to move, and how you need to develop. But I could say that is whether or not you will buy into it, because you're bombarded by so much things out there that tells you that life is not a life of productivity and excitement and doing a lot of things. So how do you filter to say, your parents may say, watch, we have been bringing you up as best as we can, and you have a home that we invested in and education that we invested in, but your peers will come and say, you're a boring person, man. You're going out and excite yourself and all the things that's happening. How do you filter that out based on what you would have heard at home? That is a challenge, I think.
But it would stem down to you being rooted in your values, you being rooted in what your parents and what advice you have been given from your...
And how does spirituality end up into that? I want to ask that as well.
I know personally, one thing that I stated earlier is that a core value of mine is service and community, right? That has to do with how I was raised, yes, but I truly believe that there's only so far that parenting can go. As a young person, I took it upon myself to actually educate myself about the importance of this. Like, why am I being told this? Because that's really what we want to know. Why are we being told what to do, and what's the purpose? So for me, in terms of spirituality, I'm Christian, right? So I would go into my Bible and I try to understand what exactly is the benefit of serving others before myself, of being engaged in other people's lives, you know? And I realize that it's rather fulfilling. It's rather
Helping
fulfilling
people is
to
always
help.
more fulfilling, I can tell you that. But I throw the spirituality angle because a lot of our young people seem to not make that part of their life.
Mm-hmm.
It is the other things, whatever those things are. But that's supposed to keep us and guide us along a moral wave or a moral road that will say, you need to help, you need to service, give service, free service, you know, volunteer. Volunteerism is a big thing. And when you volunteer, you help people.
True.
Right? So that is...
And for me, also it has to do with finding who I am,
Mm-hmm.
my own identity. And I understand that it might sound rather cliche, but my entire person, how I am able to get out of bed some days, how I'm able to keep pushing, is because I know that my identity is not found in what the world says I should or should not do, but who Christ tells me I am. That I am strong, that I am worthy of love, that I am worthy of success, that I'm able to put myself out there.
What role does parenting play in this disposition, in the reality that we're seeing there? Is inadequate parenting contributing to the ills that we're seeing among young people sometimes? And another factor is that the fact that a significant amount of our households are headed by single women, young women sometimes. Elaborate, tell us about this. What effect do you think is it having on the society and impact on youths?
Parents are the bedrock of society. Family is the bedrock of society, and in a child's life, a parent is the foundation of their existence. And if they do not have a strong parent or strong figures within the home or within the community, they are likely to engage more in societal ills. But it also trickles back down to that individual and their motivation and their circles. friendship? Who do you keep in your close circles? Who do you listen to? What music do you listen to? What influences are you interested in? And so parenting is a foundation, yes, but I would say that influence and friendship and the circle in which you are the walls and the roof of that house.
Yeah. Well, one of the points I want to make with you, because we understand that you're in fact a youth parliamentarian. Just briefly, what is the purpose of the Youth Parliament today? But is it meeting its potential? But the bigger question I have for you is, why does the Youth Parliament continue to replicate a colonial Westminster structure instead of experiment with a more suitable democratic form?
Okay. So the Youth Parliament is an organization which has been existing to help young people voice their concerns, to help young people speak to policymakers, and to just give young people a space for them to serve, for them to experiment with governance, and for them to channel their interest in political affairs.
But you think you should be allowed to experiment, though? That's the question here with other forms.
Well, with the reformation of the Youth Parliament, there has been a shift that is not normally seen, or a shift that we need. The electoral system is not accustomed to. There has been, we have not had any political parties while we were running for elections as youth MPs, and that really created a non-partisan approach to youth parliament. But the essence of youth parliament is teaching young people to be invested in the system of governance which is within their country, the system of governance which they know best, and the persons who are teaching it are persons who are accustomed to that system of governance. So I acknowledge that there is need for reformation in the sense that being a youth parliament, we are expected to experiment with models that would go on to national level. But there has been a shift, and there has been incremental. So I would say it's an incremental step. Just today, we debated a budget document, and that budget document, we wasn't A and B, it was A versus document. So it wasn't government and opposition.
So you're allowed to experiment somewhat there.
So we are allowed to experiment, and it's just step by step. I guess we would get to that process of true independence and through reform within the parliament.
I'd also like to add,
go ahead, please.
Mr. Campbell, but I joined Parish Youth Parliament in St. David, right?
Explain that to us, a bit too. Yes,
Parish
it's interesting.
Youth Parliament? Oh, so that was something that myself and other young people in the Parish of St. David were very, well, that was an initiative that was brought on, and as well as Tariq was there, that's how we met. It taught us about the overall rules of being in Parliament, right? What that meant, how the sitting goes, and it really did inspire me, actually, because I'm a very curious young person, and a lot of young people are. We want to be at the tables where policy is being implemented. So for me, learning about Youth Parliament through the parish initiative, it really inspired me, and I was driven to be like, yeah, I really actually want to be a part of National Youth Parliament. And I'm sure that other young people looking at that, they'd also be inspired to want to be able to take up more space, to be able to give their input so that we can actually transform our country and our voices, knowing that our voices actually have power.
I want to throw a caveat for you guys. Because Parliament, as we know it and how we have it now, is one where opposition and ruling party. That's basically what it is. And you have debates that sometimes deteriorate and not substantive, doesn't give you the substance that you need. We have a new political party that was just formed called the Democratic People's Movement. And they have articulated that part of their philosophy is about engaging more and, of course, getting rid of the tribalism. We have tribalism right up to Parliament, where, you know, we criticize in a way that is detrimental and not engaging? In other words, nothing wrong in criticizing, but you must offer solutions. Are you seeing that in your experimentation in this parliament that you have?
Well, of course, it has been yielding fruits, and we as a youth parliament has been criticizing constructively. We don't engage in the banter, as I was saying. There has not been any political party, so there isn't any loyalty to a code or a brotherhood from a party. So we come together, we debate, we express our ideas, and when we leave, we are back friends. And we are, it's about togetherness and unity. And just going back to what I was saying about today, it wasn't about opposition and government. It was about youth parliament debating against the budget of 2025 for the estimates and revenue for that was presented by the government of Grenada. So it really is, the youth parliament, its purpose, in fact, is to get youths to be independent and get youths to be creative in their stance against issues, and not to be tribal or to be aggressive in their
Unfortunately, our system doesn't allow that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you have to associate with a political party to get into parliament, in the House of Representatives in particular, not necessarily the Senate, but certainly in the House of Representatives. So the question to both of you guys is, if you affiliate with a political party in order to get into parliament, you don't have that now in the youth parliament,
yeah.
But if you were to move ahead, that is how the system will be presented to you. You have to affiliate, and when you get involved in politics, you either toe the line or match the line. You can't have both. So how would you reconcile that if you want to get into parliament to make a change? Because you have to affiliate with some political organization.
Well, I'll say this. We are Grenada, and so regardless of your political stance and regardless of what party in which you ascribe to, we must elevate ourselves to the values of unity. We must elevate ourselves to the values of spirit, team spirit, and godliness, and at which we promote through our motto and through our national anthem. Of course, we have to deal with the reality that political parties are a part of our society. And so, with that in mind, we as a people now have to look beyond the politics and look beyond the party in order to achieve national unity and national progress.
I was going to say the same thing. At the end of the day, it's about what best serves country, Grenada. Whilst that is the case, parties, politics, but you really just have to focus on what is better for us as a collective, as a people. And that is where it all starts. That's the fundamental. So that focusing on that aspect is how I would go into that.
We are out of time, so I want to ask you both of you, give you the opportunity. What's the message you want to leave, not just young people, but all of us with tonight?
Be authentic, no matter what. Do not be afraid to take up space. I remember in conversation with the Honorable Deacon Mitchell, he was telling me that I need to continue putting myself out there. And I say this now not as just advice that he gave to me, but to all young people who might be watching now. Continue to put yourself out there. Take up space in rooms because you deserve it. Your voice holds power and weight in what you want to see in the country, change you want to see in the country. And really just continue to believe in yourself no matter what.
I would say don't be afraid of failure. Failure is a part of life, failure is a part of our experiences, and if we indeed have to learn, we would need to sometimes fail. And when we fail, it's not to give up and to throw down the towel, but to rather get back up and to try new methods, because there's always a solution for any problem that you face. And I would also encourage them to explore with yourself, be adventurous and be curious about the world that there is. The world offers a lot, and it's for us to use it as an oyster and as adventure and as a journey.
Thank you. Chris, after listening, do you have hope? the
Yes,
future?
yes, I am impressed with both Tariq and Shiloh. I think the thinking is the key.
Yeah.
And we have been always accepting what we have been presented with in the past.
Yeah.
And it's good to hear that you guys are thinking that after the election is complete, what really supposed to concentrate on is the country and the people
Yeah,
in the
that's
country,
a salient
not
point.
the party.
They have to shape the future, Chris, and we have to allow them space, trust, I would say inclusion and real opportunities. I want to thank you both for coming tonight and sharing your thoughts with us.
Yes, thank you very much.
Thank you. Viewers, that's all the time we have. We want to thank our technical team and our guest, of course. Thank you. And we'll see you next week, same time, same place. Good evening. Bye-bye.